Rally phase of the first American turn of the SF2 power struggle scenario on Provisor formed the module Sword and Fire, Manila. Before starting the battle, let's make some changes to the positioning of the American units. The American units originally positioned in the stone buildings in the south of Provisor Island will reinforce the American troops at the coal pile. One of the squads will be added to the team with the medium machine gun at the crest of this hex. The unit with the flamethrower is moved to the hex in front of it. 2 squads will be added to the team with the heavy machine gun to form a powerful fire group with 20 firepower of offensive capacity. To direct the attacks of this fire group, the 8-1 leader is selected while the 7-0 leader positions himself with the group with the medium machine gun. The half squads with the demolition charges are moved to the coal pile. With these changes, we can begin this battle. We will have to leave out for now, mainly in part of this American phase of this first turn, the positioning of the American and Japanese snipers. Rally phase American turn 1. Changes in wind. Five. No changes in wind. Prep fire phase. The Americans are entitled to an 80mm plus battery whose observer is also off board. In this case, it will be located on hex I-29 3 levels above ground level. In this position, the Americans have an excellent observation point over Provisor Island where most buildings are only at ground level. The only building with a level above ground level is located on hex M36, which has the first level and a rooftop obstacle 1.5 above ground level. Let's then follow the off-board artillery flow. For this, in this phase, the AR markers, artillery request, are separated and SR, fire for effect. Initially, the AR marker is positioned over the N37 hex, which, as we saw before, has an unobstructed line of sight from the off-board American observer. At this moment, we will make use of one of the most important features of the vessel application with its exclusive module for the advanced squad leader game, WAS. In this application, we have access to an automated flow for evaluating the positioning and activation of off-board batteries. At this stage of the war, the Americans are entitled to 9 black tokens, which allow access to the 80mm battery, accompanied by 3 red tokens, which prevent access to the battery. There is a table with the specificities of each nationality regarding the number of red and black tokens. The first question is what type of battery will be used. In this case, the normal option is the most appropriate. The second question is related to the occurrence of an attempted radio contact with the battery. In this specific case, with an off-board observer, contact with the battery is made automatically. Is the SR or FFE, fire for effect, marker on the board? No. Select a token randomly. A black token is selected. There is any FFE, C, fire for effect, C, marker, non-NOBA, naval off-board artillery. The answer is no. Place the AR marker on the chosen hex. The observer has line of sight over the hex with the AR marker. Yes. Are there enemy units in the hex with the AR marker or adjacent to it, and all are unknown to the observer? The answer in this case is another yes, because all Japanese units are under concealment markers in concealment terrain and are therefore unknown to the off-board observer. With this, it is necessary to select a new token from the pile with red and black tokens. If the chosen token is red, this mission is automatically suspended. If it is black, the mission will continue. In any case, this token will return to the token pile. The chosen token is black, which returns to the pile. Does this artillery request pre-registered or directed by an observer on a vessel? No. Place the spotting round marker, SR, and roll a die to assess the accuracy of the shot. If the result is 1 or 2, it will be considered, specifically for the Americans on this date, as accurate. Five, the shot is not accurate. New roll of the dice to check the direction and distance of the inaccuracy. Four, red die direction, 1, white die distance. The SR marker is positioned on hex N38, and with this we end this off-board artillery fire mission in this phase, which will continue in the American defensive fire in the Japanese phase of the battle. Let's proceed with the prep fire phase. The American unit with the flamethrower will attack the Japanese on the upper floor at N37 with 12 firepower to hexes of distance, reduced by half, concealed target. Six, 1 morale check, with the Japanese units losing the concealment marker. Nine plus 1, 10, the Japanese crew suffers a casualty reduction and becomes crew 1 to 8. The American units with the leader 8-1 will fire on the Japanese at N36 with 20 firepower reduced by half, concealed target, plus 3, stone building. Let's remember that the Japanese fortified this building and their TEM is 4 more. However, this fortification is initially unknown to the Americans, and this will only be revealed if the firing requires the use of this modifier to alter the outcome of the attack in favor of the Japanese units. (11 plus 3, 13, which is a failure, and the machine gun loses its rate of fire. Firing on these same Japanese units from the Americans with the 7-0 leader. This attack will be with 10 firepower reduced to 4, concealed targets, plus 3, stone building. 11 again, and a failure, and the machine gun loses its rate of fire. Movement phase. For the initial American movement, it will be necessary to use a shell hole marker because one of the American half squads will move under such a marker. Jim hadn't yet set aside such a marker, and it will be necessary to retrieve it from the saved objects. Very well, let's go. American half squad with the demolition charge moves under the shell hole marker. In this hex, It will suffer an attack from the Japanese medium machine gun with a total of 4 firepower doubled to 8, point blank fire, +1, under shell hole, -1, FFNAM. 5. 2 morale checks and the machine gun loses its rate of fire. Double 1, 2, +2, 4. The half squad activates the heat of battle. There will be no modifiers for the dice roll result. Seven. The half squad will undergo battle hardening and change from a first class 3-4-6 half squad to a squad 3-4-7 elite. New attack from the Japanese stack located at ground level of this building with a total of 16 firepower +1, shell hole, -1, FFNAM. 5. 3 morale check. Eight +3, 11. The half squad has its morale broken and a marker of 8 residual fire is deposited on the attacked hex. New attack from the Japanese stack with the 9-0 leader with 16 firepower without modifiers. Five. Again 3 morale check. Double 1, 2, +3, 5. The half squad passes and will suffer the effects of heat of battle, this time with the modifier of -1 for being an elite unit. In addition, this unit automatically recovers morale. 5 -1, 4. This half squad again suffers the effects of battle hardening, which will make them fanatics as they are already elite. Jim also hadn't prepared for T. His situation requires you to retrieve the fanatic marker from among the saved objects. In addition, there is the creation of an American Leader 149. Since the Americans used 2 movement factors to move under the shell hole, they can be attacked again by the Japanese stack. This attack will be with 8 firepower without modifiers. 8. Normal morale check. Six. The hero passes. 5. The half squad passes. New attack from the Japanese stack with the leader 10-1. This attack will be with a total of 12 firepower with the modifiers of +1, shell hole, +1, hex with debris, -1, Japanese leader, -1, FFNAM. Before evaluating this shot, let's assess if there is a line of sight for it to happen. it is possible to see that there is a line of sight passing by a hair's breadth through the limit of the boiler room building. Let's then go to the attack with 12 firepower without modifiers. Nine, normal morale check, and the machine guns lose their rate of fire. 11. The hero suffers an injury and becomes 138. 3. The half squad passes. With this, after all these attacks, it is possible for the American half squad to use the two movement factors that remain and deposit the demolition charge on the lower floor of the fortress. With the use of these two movement factors, the American half squad will be attacked by a subsequent first fire from the Japanese stack with 8 firepower plus 1, shell hole, minus 1, FFNAM. 7. Normal morale check. 6. The hero passes. 8. The half squad is pinned. With this, the demolition charge is considered as not deposited and will return to the Americans. The other half squad moves forward in non-assault movement to the hex with debris. This hex will suffer an attack from the squad with the light machine gun with a total of 6 firepower doubled to 12, point blank shot, minus 1, FFNAM, plus 1, debris. Nine, normal morale check, and the machine gun loses its rate of fire. 10. The half squad has its morale broken. A marker of 6 residual fire is deposited on the hex. New shot. Subsequent first fire with 4 firepower without modifiers. 10. Without success. With the removal of the residual fire markers, we will move on to the defensive fire phase. The Japanese choose not to attack, and the first final fire markers are removed. Advancing fire phase. The Americans also choose not to fire, and the prep fire markers are removed. Rout phase. The half squad with broken morale moves to the stone house in Q38 passing through the coal hex. Advance phase. The hero moves to the half squad with the flint thrower, and the 8-1 leader moves to the half squad with broken morale. Close combat phase. The pin marker is removed from the half squad. Rally phase of the Japanese phase of the first turn. Changes in wind. 4. No changes in wind. Attempt at rally by the American half squad alongside leader 8-1 with modifiers plus 4, DAIM -1, building -1, leader. Double 1 to +2, 4. The half squad recovers morale and will suffer the effects of the heat of battle without modifiers. 4. The half squad suffers the hardening effect from the battle, becoming a 3-4-7 half squad, and a hero is created. The Americans will switch the flamethrower and pass it to the American hero. The half squad that just recovered morale will transfer the demolition charge to the newly created hero. Prep fire phase. Medium machine gun will fire a shot at the Americans under the shell hole marker with 4 firepower doubled to 8, point blank shot, +1, shell hole. 8 + 1, 9, pin test checked, and the machine gun loses rate of fire. 7. The American half squad passes. Japanese stack fire with leader 9-0 on the Americans with the flamethrower. This fire will be made with 8 firepower +1 pile of coal. Eight + 1, 9, pin test check. 5. The hero passes. 9. The half squad is pinned. Fire from the light machine gun on the American half squad with 4 firepower +1. 9 + 1, 10, unsuccessful, and the machine gun loses rate of fire. Fire from the squad with the light machine gun on the American half squad under the shell hole marker. This fire will be with 6 firepower +1, shell hole, +1, debris. 11 + 2, 13, unsuccessful, and the machine gun loses rate of fire. Japanese stack fire on the American half squad under the shell hole. This fire will be with 16 firepower +1, shell hole. 8 + 1, 9, normal morale check. 6. The half squad passes. Movement phase. Before initiating this movement phase, some considerations are necessary. The Japanese considered launching a massive banzai charge on the American positions. After in-depth analysis and a simulation, the Japanese revised this concept as the simulation demonstrated that this would be a suicidal initiative, which banzai charges are by definition, with the loss of most units, and in the event of a Japanese victory, if it occurred at all, it would be a Pyrrhic victory, and the surviving units would not be able to face the American reinforcements that will be launched in the 4th round. Furthermore, the victory conditions of this scenario imply a significant destruction of the Japanese force. Fewer than 2 equivalent squads should remain at the end of the battle, as well as the capture of some structures west of Provisor Island, which puts the Japanese on the defensive, and as such, they will try to maintain this condition and avoid an offensive posture. With the formidable barrier constituted by the boiler room and power plant fortified, with all the challenges involved in dislodging the Japanese from these positions, it will be necessary to create a breach in the walls of these fortifications in order to penetrate inside these locations. The positioning of the units in the south of the island, which consists of the best Japanese leader, 10-1, and has medium and heavy machine guns that must position themselves to attack the American reinforcements heading towards the island from positions in the southeast of the island. Okay, let us move the troops. The squad with the light machine gun under the concealment marker will move in assault motion to the hex with the leader 10-1 maintaining the concealment marker. The Japanese leader and the units in this hex move in the opposite direction to hex N40 where they will possibly recover the concealment marker. The half squad with the mortar moves to the hex with trench using bypass in K39 L39. Defensive fire phase. At the beginning of this defensive phase, we will activate the American off-board artillery using the WASL application. We will follow the algorithm. Question: what type of off-board battery is it? A. Normal. Question: radio contact established or maintained? A. Since the Americans have an off-board observer at level 3, is radio contact with the batteries, as well as access to them, considered present? A. Yes. Question: is the SR or FFE2 marker on the board? A. Yes. Question: do you want to cancel the spotting round? A. No. Question: does the observer have line of sight over the spotting round explosion? A. Yes. The spotting round reaches a height of 2 levels from the base level of the hex where the SR marker is located, therefore there is a line of sight. Question: do you want to move or correct the SR marker? A. No. Question: do you want to convert the spotting round in this position? A. Yes. Question: does the observer have line of sight to the base level of the hex with the SR marker? If not, is there line of sight to the spotting round explosion and to known enemy units in the hex with the SR marker or hexes adjacent to it? A. Yes. Convert SR to FFE1, execute the attack, and then replace the marker with FFE2. Alright, let's replace the SR marker with FFE1. Before starting the attack against the Japanese units, let's attack the terrain marked with FFE1 following the rule C1.822. Before initiating the attack against the Japanese units, let's attack the terrain marked with FFE1. This attack will be carried out on the hexagon with the FFE1 marker and the adjacent hexes. Let's start with the central hex at N38. This structure is fortified and made of stone, which guarantees it a morale of 10. The building passes. Hex N39, which has a morale of 10. 9. The structure passes. O38 with an open-air warehouse has the equivalent morale to the wooden building with a morale of 8. 5. Structure unaffected. 7. The hex with the debris is not affected. 8. The other hex in the boiler room is not affected. 9. The hex with the mine, which has a morale of 9, is not affected. And finally, 7. The hex with the wire is also not affected. We will now attack the Japanese units. The attack with the 80 mm plus the battery S force is equivalent to 16 firepower, and the dice will be rolled for each of the 7 attacks that will occur. Starting with the central hexagon. 5. In this case, the boiler room structure has 2 levels, and if there were units on both, the attacks would occur as follows. The unit on the first level will be attacked with 16 firepower and the +4 modifier, Fortress 9, which is equivalent to 1 morale test. The units on the lower floor will suffer the same attack with the additional +1 modifier for the protection of the upper floor of the building, which is equivalent to a normal morale test, dice roll 5 + 5 to 10. Since there is only one unit on the ground floor, it will undergo a normal morale test. 9. The squad suffers a reduction due to casualties and becomes a 347 squad. The FFE-1 marker becomes FFE-2. Attack the units on N39. 5 + 4, Fortress, +1, upper floor, 10, normal morale test. 10. The squad becomes a 347 with a stripe. Attack on N37. 6 + 4, Fortification, 10, normal morale check for the unit on the upper floor, and 6 + 4, Fortification, +1, 1 floor above, 11, and a pin test check for the units on the lower floor. Five, the unit on the upper floor passes. 10. The Japanese leader becomes pinned, which is an error, as Japanese leaders normally do not become pinned except under special conditions. 6. The first squad passes. 6. The second squad passes. 'Continuing the defensive fire phase, the flamethrower will perform an attack on the Japanese stack next to leader 9-0. This attack will be with 12 firepower, 2 hexes of distance, without modifiers. 6. To morale check. 7 + 2, 9. The Japanese leader is also placed under the pinned marker, which is incorrect. 7 + 2, 9. The first squad suffers a reduction in casualties and becomes 347. 9 + 2, 11. The Japanese units along with the leaders gain a point in their morale. This unit has a morale of 8 and an ELR of 11, therefore, this squad will only suffer 1 reduction due to casualties and becomes 347. The American teams on the coal pile will form a fire group and will attack the Japanese unit on the upper floor of N37 with a total of 30 firepower and the +4 modifier, Fortress. Five plus 4, 9, to morale check, and the machine guns lose their rate of fire and there is a possible activation of the Japanese sniper. 4 plus 2, 6, the Japanese half crew passes. 3. The Japanese sniper is not activated. Advancing fire phase. No actions. Rout phase. No actions. Advance phase. Squad 447 launches itself upon the American half squad under the shell hole where they will enter close combat. Team with the mortar moves under the trench marker. Close combat phase. The attack occurs under the shell hole, which is not an ambush terrain. The Japanese will attack the Americans with a force of 4 against 3 of the Americans in a 1-to-1 ratio, with the modifier of -1, Japanese attacking in hand-to-hand combat, needing 8 or less to affect the Americans. This attack will occur in the line of hand-to-hand combat. The Americans will attack the Japanese with a force of 3 against 4 of the Japanese, with a 1-to-2 ratio, needing 6 or less to affect the Japanese without modifiers. Starting with the Japanese. 10-1, 9, the Americans are not affected. 3. The Americans eliminate the Japanese squad with an excellent result. Pin markers are removed. Let's assess the possibility of the units recovering the concealment markers. The Japanese stack along with the leader 10-1 apparently qualify. Let's assess if there is line of sight between this stack and the units with the flamethrower. If there is line of sight, the Japanese units will not be able to recover the concealment marker. This assessment was carried out, and the line of sight between these units is broken by the coal hex on P37, and in this way, they will recover the concealment marker. Let's move on to the rally phase of the American second round. With this, we will conclude this installment and say goodbye. Take care, Namaste.